Today on NewsWatch, a new poll shows the U.S. power grid is wide open for hackers. See what's being done to correct the problem. Plus, the number of migrants flooding into Europe is steadily climbing. We'll show you how Operation Blessing is helping with the increase. And
it's helping others on such a grand scale that there was no way that the city would not step up and say, go for it.
watch how a little experiment in generosity transformed this city. Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Lori Johnson. A new Associated Press investigation finds that the U.S. power grid is alarmingly vulnerable to foreign hacks. And not only could hackers gain access to our operations networks, they have dozens of times. Caitlin Burke has the story.
The U.S. power grid supplies power to the military, mass transit, business, and millions of Americans. It's protected 24/7 on the outside against physical attacks and on the inside against cyber attacks. However, an Associated Press investigation found that the networks running the U.S. power grid still remain vulnerable.
We're still in this era where everyone believes it's secure by default, and it's not.
Despite our best efforts, the nation's power grid was never built with network security in mind. It's old and outdated, and as the AP investigation reports, nearly a dozen times in the past decade, foreign hackers have gained remote access to networks that run the grid.
We're seeing people looking for vulnerabilities, people scanning to see what types of openings they can find.
Some of the hacks against the U.S. power grid are believed to have been carried out by hacking teams from Russia, China, and Iran. Now, even ISIS is trying to hack American power companies.
We are not where we need to be, and we are very, very focused on getting to where we need to be.
So far, intrusions into the networks that control the power grid haven't caused the kind of catastrophic blackout that experts fear. However, it's believed that many cyber attackers already have the information they need to do just that, giving them the capability to strike at will.
It's all real. It's all, there's lots of variables, lots of potentials that could happen.
The Department of Homeland Security says public and private cooperation is the key to fighting cyber attacks, and the agency is coordinating efforts to strengthen grid cybersecurity nationwide and to raise awareness about evolving threats.
The Taliban has claimed responsibility for the suicide attack that killed 6 American soldiers in Afghanistan yesterday, making it the deadliest attack on U.S. troops since 2012. The attack comes as the Taliban continues to advance in Afghanistan. The terrorist group took over a strategic district in the Helmand province over the weekend. During a visit to troops in Afghanistan last week, Secretary of Defense Ash Carter admitted things are not going well.
The Taliban's advances in some parts of the country, even if only temporary, underscore that this is a tough fight, and it's far from over.
Reports show in the years since the international drawdown, the Taliban insurgency has intensified. Bowe Bergdahl has his day in court today. The U.S. Army sergeant faces a military judge on charges of desertion and misbehavior before the enemy. If convicted, Bergdahl could get life in prison on the misbehavior charge and up to 5 years for desertion. Bergdahl walked away from his unit in Afghanistan in 2009 and was held by the Taliban for 5 years. He was then released in exchange for 5 highly ranked Taliban prisoners being held at Guantanamo Bay. More than 1 million migrants entered Europe in 2015. That's according to the International Organization for Migration. The group says the milestone marks a more than 4-fold increase from last year. Operation Blessing is on the ground in Greece, working to help refugees fleeing violence in the Middle East. David Darg brings us the latest.
Refugees are making the dangerous crossing from Turkey to Greece, packed into small boats, risking everything to make it to Europe. They arrive tired and cold and with few belongings, but they are relieved because they have fled from war and instability, and Europe will offer them a new life. This mother and her 9-month-old baby are Yazidis from Iraq. They fled from an ISIS genocide and arrived here on a small boat containing over 40 people.
These refugees who have just arrived here on the Greek island of Lesbos are some of thousands that continue to arrive here. They come on boats packed full of men, women, and children in search of a better life. Operation Blessing is here on this island, providing much-needed aid at this critical time.
The refugees are taken to camps where they are registered and prepared for their journey onward into Europe. Here in the camps, Operation Blessing is helping to provide nutritious meals for refugee families. Fresh fruits and vegetables and warm food is served, and for many who have been on the move to get here, this is the first proper meal in weeks. In addition to food, Operation Blessing is providing solar-powered lights to refugee families. Accommodation in the camps is dark at night, and their journey deeper into Europe will mean sleeping rough. These lights provide safety and comfort to refugees. Alison Thompson is with a group of volunteers in Greece. Operation Blessing is supporting their efforts to distribute solar lights to refugees.
Operation Blessing were amazing. They wrote to us and said, look, we'd like to support the light project. And I got so excited, and light brings joy and happiness. It's the only thing that I've seen light up their faces here. So that's what I'm focusing on, is bringing light to Lesbos.
Yes. I love you. You want to come?
A new day brings new arrivals to Greece, and as this humanitarian crisis shows no sign of ending, Operation Blessing continues to serve thousands of refugees in Europe and the Middle East.
Support for legal abortion in the U.S. is now at its highest level in 2 years. An Associated Press GFK poll shows an increase in support from both Democrats and Republicans. 76% of Democrats think abortion should be legal in most or all cases. 40% of Republicans and 54% of independents agree. Currently, 58% of Americans think abortion should be legal in most or all cases. That's 7% more than at the beginning of the year. The people of Baltimore want to change their image of their city following high-profile violence that erupted in the streets earlier this year. As Ephraim Graham shows us, they're finding powerful unity in simply sitting down to enjoy a meal together.
Police break for a pickup game outside this neighborhood rec center. Inside, volunteers dish out hot meals.
Amen. Here you go. Thank you. Ready to eat up?
And the officers deliver a hearty plate to every guest. This is a unity celebration. Baltimore police officers wanted for their city.
I don't think anybody really has told the story of the police here in Baltimore and what they went through during all the unrest. They truly love this town and the people that they serve.
Gary LeBlanc and his Mercy Chefs team travel the country, feeding people in natural disasters like hurricanes and earthquakes. They responded to Baltimore in April when riots erupted following the death of Freddie Gray. Mercy Chefs fed the officers and National Guard 4,000 meals a day.
Understand that that was a time when the police were in a lot of anguish and pain.
Lieutenant Colonel Melvin Russell is a 36-year veteran of the force and the department's chief of community collaboration.
You have 6 comrades that were arrested, so they're feeling a certain kind of way. You had a community, it seemed like an entire community that came against them with hatred. So anybody that was serving them in any capacity, that was a great shot in the arm. It was a tangible act of love.
Mercy Chefs came back to share that love for the Christmas season. And just days after the city saw a mistrial caused by a hung jury in the trial of an officer charged in the death of Freddie Gray.
Our hearts were turned to Baltimore even before we knew there were events like this that were going to happen without food service. And it was just the opportunity to come and set the Lord's table of hospitality and then just see what he was going to do. That amazing thing that happens over a shared meal.
Is everybody okay with juice?
That shared meal brings City Councilman Nick Mosby to the table. Mosby is running for mayor, and he's married to the prosecutor who brought the charges against the 6 police officers.
I'm very proud of my city. There's so much more than what was depicted on the negative images associated with the unrest. There was so much positive protest. There was so much positive collective coming together. You look at, Mercy Chefs coming all the way up from Virginia Beach and all that they've been able to do for the city of Baltimore.
The table for this unity meal includes guests you'd expect and a few surprises.
We're working together with clergy leaders, the police officers, community leaders, youth advocates, business owners within the neighborhood and outside the neighborhood. We also have gang members, gang leaders, and we're in the heart of Sandtown, Winchester, the epicenter of all this attention. And so it's good to get a good story that's actually real and wholesome.
In so many ways, the Charm City is rising up, rebuilding and reshaping its image, and everyone, from the youngest child to the man in blue, is giving it his best shot.
Our story here in Baltimore is consistent even before the riots, and that there are a lot of residents that work together, that love one another, that care for each other, even through the hardship of what they face on a day-to-day.
And it's these images depicting the police motto, protect and serve, they hope more people will see and remember. Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Baltimore.
Coming up, we're heading to the Nun Zone. It's a place in America where people living there claim no religious affiliation. See what one church is doing to reach the area. The Pacific Northwest is often called the Nun Zone because most people living there claim no religious affiliation. But one church may have found the secret to reaching the unreachable. Abigail Robertson shows us their success started when they went back to the Bible.
7 years ago, the future looked pretty bleak for Westminster Community Church, a 92-year-old congregation located in Seattle.
We started to decline at a pretty crazy rate. In fact, I published that our going out of business date was going to be November of 2011 if we didn't do something different.
The more the city grew, the more its people changed.
90% of Seattle are very secularized in their worldview.
Members of Westminster realized they had to roll with these changes in order to reach these people.
So if we're hoping to stay in business here, we need to know how to take seculars to heaven in a way that they would gladly go.
After a number of failed attempts, church leaders decided on a tactic from biblical times.
The church for the first 300 years, it really was a dinner church. And once we started to own that, we thought, well, we tried everything else and failed miserably. Let's go try this.
Lead pastor Verlin Fosner says it only took about 6 weeks for their community dinners to make a difference.
They were just flooding at us. So they just start grabbing a hold of their friends and say, hey, this is the family dinner table for this neighborhood, and we've all wanted to be neighbors. Well, now we've got a spot to have a family dinner, and this church provides it, and they talk about Jesus, and it's actually kind of interesting, and it's not real religious, but it's very inspiring to us.
Each night of the week, Community Dinners opens their doors somewhere in Seattle and invites people to share a meal together while hearing the good news of God's love.
The one thing that I hear consistently is the peace in the room. People come in and they just go, there's a peace here, I feel peaceful.
Brendan Perko literally helped spread this gospel community by starting the Pike Market location 3 years ago. He sees the dinner table as a very effective tool for discipleship.
A lady that's been with us maybe for about 2 months, 2.5 months, she always says, well, I'm not Christian, I'm actually Buddhist, and I don't know about all this, but I do know when I come here I feel uplifted, I feel encouraged, and I feel loved.
Brendan made one of his first connections with Tulela, a man he invited in off the street.
Some days I'll come in here and I don't even feel like being here, and Brandon would guide me through it, pray with me. That's why I keep coming here, because I know it helps. It helps out. So the Lord, God guides me back to these people. Because if I'm not doing this, I'm out there doing other stuff that's not good. These people changed my life.
In a city not known for faith, community dinner churches could help change that perception. 20 new locations are planned, one for each walking village around Seattle.
We're glad you're here. Okay. And the idea is picking up steam. Community Dinners has garnered national attention from pastors around the country, and it has even proven to be a financially sustainable church model.
$1,600 a month, and you can open up a dinner church that'll take care of 150 people a week. And so so money is really not much of an issue when it's that inexpensive.
And now they offer affordable housing and job assistance as part of their service.
Eat together, include the poor, include the stranger, and remember me, talk about me. And what better discipleship is there than when you're sitting at a table talking about Christ every week?
Verlin and his team have definitely answered Jesus' call to feed my sheep, proving that it only takes a little to reach a great amount of people. Reporting from Seattle, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Up next, we'll show you an entire town that's definitely on Santa's nice list. See how an act of generosity transformed the area. Have you ever heard of Titusville? Probably not. It's a Florida town that doesn't get a lot of attention until now. It sits across from Cape Canaveral, which launched many missions into space. Now Titusville has launched its own kind of mission, deliberate acts of kindness. And as Paul Strand shows us, it's getting noticed by the thousands.
Often it's tragedy, like the recent San Bernardino terrorist attack, that will bring a community together. But Titusville residents found something positive for everyone to rally around.
In an age when so many people are worried about the separation of church and state, Titusville, Florida found a perfect way to bring together the city's secular agencies and people and dozens of local churches and their congregations for a special time of just being generous and blessing others. A model that your community, any community in the country, could imitate.
It's 40 days of the entire town doing random acts of kindness, accompanied by a card encouraging recipients to pay it forward. So there's an ever-widening ripple effect. Brianne Robertson helped organize it.
Every sector of our community was a part of 40 Days of Generosity. Municipal level, the government, the city hall, the mayor.
And signed this proclamation.
It's helping others on such a grand scale that there was no way that the city would not step up and say, go for it.
Over and over again at drive-thrus, one generous act would kick off a positive chain reaction.
The person would say, I'd like to take care of the bill for the people behind me. And you would hear it going on for 8, 9, 10, 15 cars later, taking care of the bill behind them. That happened many, many, many times.
Folks threw a feast for the entire police department.
Police chief told me no one had ever come out and just fed all of them.
One Sunday, Casey Green's church gave $600 to its people taking part in the 40 Days Project to invest or give away. Casey invested her $20 into sign-making materials.
I made signs to put around the community to have a garage sale, and then I let everyone in my church know that I was having one, and I just collected donations for about 2 weeks. We ended up raising $3,208.
Some went toward the $200,000 raised to build a massive splash pad, a first of its kind in any of North Brevard County's 30 parks. The rest is going to help the Salvation Army build an emergency family shelter. Trey Gordon, one of the main organizers, wanted to make all this personal.
So we sat down as a family and went through the 40-day action guide, trying to say, how could we do this as a family?
Son Ryan shocked Trey with his generosity.
I decided I wanted to give my birthday money away to the family shelter fund.
The birthday bucks ended up being $85, a fortune for a 10-year-old.
Once it came in, to see him put it in the can, he didn't hesitate at all.
Then an anonymous donor mailed Ryan something.
They gave me a gift card for $80 back.
That was just a real blessing to say, see, son, you were faithful and God honored you in that.
Katrina Foster Fernandez decided to bless her former neighborhood with 20 pizzas. Then, when her friends heard about it,
everybody kept wanting to get in, and that's how it started.
And it turned into a massive block party for Katrina's former neighbors.
For waitresses, people would just be asking, how can I bless you? What is it that you need?
Restaurant workers were often recipients, some with gifts miraculously on target.
Single mom would say, my electric bill is due, I can't pay it, the electricity is going off tomorrow if I don't pay it. There is the $86 exactly that she needs.
John Huvardis, co-owner of Steve's Diner, was wowed with all he was seeing.
People were picking up other people's check and not letting them know who picked it up.
It's made him and his partner now want to bless others too.
We're talking about going to the churches that we have around town and designating one day where they can bring in the families in need and we'll buy them dinner.
Pastor Brian Kluth writes and speaks about generosity as a ministry and helped Titusville put its 40 days together. He wants to see it spread everywhere.
The rest of my life is dedicated to helping churches and communities bring 40 days of generosity into their community to see God's love in action and to see lives touched and changed.
How? Well, some of the 40 Days cards handed out in Titusville had no religious message, but the churchgoers gave out special cards pointing people to a website and video that can lead them right into the Father's arms.
I gave up everything I love that I might gain your love. If you receive the gift of my Son Jesus, you receive me, and nothing will ever separate you from my love again.
People here in Titusville know that many people were blessed by the thousands of acts of generosity during the 40 Days of Generosity. Now they're just hoping that many communities across America will give themselves a chance to bless and be blessed in turn. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Titusville.
If you're interested in putting on your own 40 Days of Generosity in your community, go to our website, cbnnews.com, for more information on how to do it. Well, CBN held its first Superbook event for the Polish community in England. More than 80 adults and 60 children attended the event and watched the first Christmas episode translated into Polish. CBN gave away Superbook DVDs, T-shirts, and Bibles to the children. One parent said Superbook is a fantastic way to introduce the Bible to children and to show them that the Bible is relevant today and can be applied in everyday situations that kids face in their lives. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. And that's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage and issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.